Okay. So yeah, Leah, if you want to go ahead and just give us kind of an overview on what your organization does.
All right, well, let me explain what the structure of community action, and then I'll talk about the SSVF program. There are 16 West Virginia community action agencies across the state of West Virginia. West Virginia Community Action is who I work for, and we provide the technical assistance, training, and other support to those community action agencies. 8 of those 16 have contracted for SSVF. The various community action agencies, they provide all kinds of services from weatherization program, rural water programs, the CSBG, which is Community Services Block Grant, and a myriad of other grants that serve low income.
Leah, I don't know if you can hear me, Leah, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yeah.
Okay. SSVF is supportive services for veteran families, and we can take a veteran off the streets and house them. We pay deposits, rent, utilities, arrearages. We can buy them beds, kitchen equipment, whatever they need to move in. We also provide preventative services, which is when we can, if we have a veteran family facing eviction, we can pay the arrearages, any penalties, court costs, and the such to keep them housed in that unit if the landlord is willing to keep them in there. Each community action agency has supposed to have a housing department, or SSVF case managers. They maintain a landlord list. And I wanted to talk to you guys to let you know that this program is out there. We have all kinds of money, actually too much money. I've already had to give back $250,000, and it looks like we're not going to be able to spend what we have left. But we're always looking for landlords that are willing to work with us to house veterans or keep veterans housed. I had sent Jennifer a summary of what I was going to be talking about, but some of the things that how we can support landlords is, one way is when we have a difficult veteran to place, like if they have a felony or they have a history of bad tenancy. In extraordinary circumstances, we can provide double deposit, which can't be more than twice the rent amount. Another way is that we can keep your units full. If you have a tenant that's veteran tenant that's looking at eviction, we can pay those arrearages and then provide them with case managers to try to prevent that from happening again. And while veterans are enrolled in our program, we give them additional support, such as connect them with employment opportunities, connect them with other VA benefits, possibly help them navigate SSDI to grow their income so that they are stable. But right now, with the state of emergency that we're in with the COVID, we don't have time limits. But under normal circumstances, it is a temporary program. We can provide rent for up to a year under normal circumstances, but right now all those timelines are waived. But once we go back to normal operations after the COVID passes, hopefully it'll be soon, the program has program office that will be extending those waivers on time limits for 90 days. So that right now we have no time limits. But after the state of emergency is over, it will be extended for 90 days. So that way we're not just cutting off the veteran, and we have that 90 days to work with them to make sure that they are stable. But we're just trying to get the word out to everybody we can, especially landlords, because we do have a housing shortage, and to let you guys know that we are here and we can help to keep your units full. Even if you have a vacant unit, you can contact either me or the agency that covers the county that the unit's in and say, you know, I have this unit. If we have a veteran that in need, then we can help fill that unit for you. So that's pretty much the gist of what we do as far as helping veterans in housing. And we want to grow our landlord base so that when we do have a veteran, we can place them as soon as possible, keep them out of shelter, keep them off the streets.
I know one question.
Has anybody ever heard of the SSVF program, or have you worked with the SSVF program?
I have not. Has anybody else?
I have. I think I actually have a couple veterans placed through your program in Kanawha County.
Okay, so that would have been with Coalfield, either Coalfield or Volunteers of America.
Volunteers of America is who I've dealt with. I've had some issues in the past with Coalfield, but I tend not to use them, but I will do the Volunteers of America. I haven't had any issues with those guys.
Okay, yeah, they we share geography with them in the southern half of West Virginia. We cover, our grant covers all 55 counties. Volunteers of America, well, I sent out a map with, I sent it to Jennifer, along with other contact information. Were you able to share that with everybody?
It's going to go out to him after the meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, what I had included was the West Virginia CAP flyer that has the SSVF agencies, the counties that each agency covers, and the contact information. Then I had all the community actions in West Virginia, all 16 of them. And then we had coordinated entry system. Anybody that's homeless has to go through a coordinated entry, and SSVF is an access point, but I wanted to share those other continuum of care is what they're called, so that if you have a non-veteran that may need assistance with prevention, or even if you have a vacant unit and you're willing to work with low income, then you can contact them and let them know, hey, I have a unit available in whatever county, whatever location, and so they may be able to help fill that unit for you also. I had Volunteers of America, the counties that they cover, and their contact information as far as which office covers what counties. And then there was an SSVF flyer that we use as a handout, and we also distribute around the communities, that explains a little bit of what SSVF is, eligibility factors, and what it is that we can do as far as what we can pay for. So that'll be a very useful information when it comes to actually getting people in your units, or if you have somebody that's looking at eviction, who to contact to get the assistance for that tenant. So, is there any questions? I kind of ran through that quickly, but.
One of the most common things that I hear landlords ask is, what happens if they tear the place up? You know, HUD used to pay for damages. It's been many years that they do not pay for damages anymore. So a lot of landlords will shy away from HUD.
That is a hot topic within the SSVF community. Right now, we are not allowed to pay for damages. That's kind of where the double security comes in. If it's a known problem person, but on a national level, they are trying to get some kind of services for that, because they know that it's a major issue with landlords, and something like that will literally take an act of Congress. There's certain things within the program that has to go through Congress, and that is one of them. And they have been working on that and advocating to be able to pay for damages. But as of right now, we can't, unfortunately. Although other programs within the community action world, like the CSBG or the ESG program, or possibly even the weatherization, may be able to come in and give some relief when it comes to damages.
What are those programs? You said CSBG. What is that?
Yeah, CSBG is Community Service Block Grant, and ESG is Emergency Services Grant. And then there's the weatherization program, which a lot of landlords don't know this. In the weatherization program, what they do is they'll come in and do an energy assessment on the unit. And if you're eligible, I don't know what the eligibility factors are for that program, but if you're eligible for it, then they could come in and do like insulation, windows, air conditioning, heating. They've even provided people with refrigerators, anything to do with energy efficiency, roofing. They've done roofing and siding. So that's a really good program that the landlords can look into. Like I said, I don't know what the eligibility factors are. You'd have to contact the community action in the area that of interest, which you have the contact information for, and they can give you more details on that program.
Okay.
Any other questions or?
Yeah, a lot of you are, it looks like you're unmuted. John, are you unmuting people?
I just
You did, okay.
I just unmuted. I was going to ask a question.
Okay.
Now, in terms of the database or how to put your properties online, is there a location that you could send us to maybe if we wanted to post? Is there a website or do you need to work with each individual, like the?
You'd have to work with the community action in the county that you're in.
Okay. Now, in the past, they had there was a veterans that basically was kind of like HUD, except it was for veterans. Is this different in the fact that you don't have you guys come and inspect the unit, but you don't do it like a HUD inspection, right? You do it just as a
correct. We're not formally trained and certified to do that, although our caseworkers know what HUD standards are. So if a person is going into a new unit and they're HUD, then HUD would have to come in and do it. Although our caseworkers can do a preliminary and have a general idea if it will pass or not.
I guess they call it the HUD BASH program. I didn't know how similar your program was to that.
Well, the differences between HUD BASH and SSVF is HUD BASH is a permanent supportive housing and ours is a temporary.
Okay.
That's the main difference there. Although we do work very closely with HUD BASH, providing deposits and possibly the first month's rent. And under this COVID thing, if there's a delay in an inspection, for some reason the unit can't be available for a month or two, we can cover the rent until it passes the HUD criterias. And so that way we can get the person placed in a unit as soon as possible.
Excellent.
But yeah, we have the HUD standards. We're just not certified to do the inspections, and we don't have the requirement of having the formal inspection unless they're getting a voucher. But then HUD would come in and do the formal inspection.
So in a way, this kind of helps possibly bridge. Because if you guys are going to help them, they're going to qualify most likely under like a HUD BASH. This could offer a transitional way to support them while they apply and possibly get a HUD BASH voucher.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
Yes.
Don, can you explain what the HUD BASH is? Because I've never heard of that.
HUD BASH is just it's basically just housing, like a HUD Section 8 voucher. except it's specifically for a veteran. It's basically the same thing. It's managed through the Charleston Canal Housing, or whichever area they're in, and it just so happens to be a veteran. So it's a veterans HUD Section 8 voucher.
Yeah,
Same rules apply, same limit, income or pricing applies when it comes to the, what the cost of a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, etc.
it is. It's this just the same as regular HUD, only it's a separate pot of money specifically for veterans. And then they have a VA person from the VA Medical Center. They have homeless teams that would have a case manager working with that family.
Is it, this is Pat Sneed. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
So you're looking for these units to be furnished?
No. If they're furnished, that's great, but not necessarily, no.
Okay, well, I only really have one unit, but you never know when they're gonna leave. But I do have, the kitchen, but I don't have any other furnishings. I've got the refrigerator, the stove.
Now, they would need a refrigerator and stove, but as far as like couches or beds or furniture like that, no, that's not necessary.
Well, who supplies that if they're homeless?
We supply the bed. We can supply the bed and the bedding, and we can buy them dishes, pots and pans, cleaning materials, things like that. Anything necessary for your basic living. Now, we can't buy them a couch and a coffee table and a TV or anything, but we do provide we can provide a bed, linens, and kitchen items.
Okay, thank you.
And we try to connect them with other resources. Like Habitat is really good about donating furniture, and the Restore and Goodwill, if they have it available, they're really good about donating furniture items. So it depends on what the community, we have all kinds of connections within the community to connect them with, to get them what they need, what we can't provide.
And it's in all the counties?
Yes, we cover, actually it's across the entire United States. My organization covers all 55 counties in West Virginia. VOA, which we have shared territory, they have 28 counties in West Virginia, but the program itself is nationwide.
So I have some questions for you.
Okay.
All right. First, is this something that has to be pre-approved, or if you had a veteran in a unit and he or she started to have problems, is it something that they could apply for post-occupation?
Yes, that's what we would label as prevention. If they're behind on rent or having problems with the utilities, we can come in and pay arrearages and then work with them to try to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
Okay. And then can you tell us some preliminary things that a veteran would have to do to qualify for your assistance?
They have to have at least 1 day of active duty service, having not a dishonorable discharge. So that's veteran status. So once it's verified that they are in fact a veteran, then we look at their income, and we have the same area median income as HUD does. We use HUD charts. So those are the two main criteria. The other is their housing situation. If they're literally homeless in shelter, sleeping in the car, being on the street, that's rapidly rehousing. For prevention, we would need a statement from the landlord saying that they are in fact behind on their rent and how much that they're behind while this COVID is going on. Once the COVID state of emergency is lifted, 90 days after the official declaration has been rescinded, we'll have 90 days to continue working with them. After that 90 days, we would need a court-ordered eviction. You don't necessarily have to go to court, but file the eviction. But right now, we are allowed to just take it can be handwritten or something more formal from the landlord stating the rental arrearages and how much.
How big does a unit have to be, or what do you charge, or what?
The fair market rate, we go on the fair market rate just like HUD does. We don't set the prices, the landlord does. But it does have to be in line with what's being charged for, you know, if it's a 2-bedroom unit for $700, that's the going rate for the area, then we can do it. Now, if it's a median rate, say it's a 2-bedroom for 700 and you want 1,200, well, we can't do that. It has to be within a reasonable range of what is the average in the area that they're in. But we don't set rates.
Pat, I have found, just based on the Section 8 stuff, their fair market used to not be this way, but they're pretty competitive relative to what the standard rates are. There's some exceptions that, like in my area, Canal City, you know, HUD will never be able to place somebody in like a house or something that you might be able to get 1,200 for. The most they could do is say 825 or 800. But in most areas, at least in Kanawha County and that I deal with, I've never had too many issues if they're a qualified HUD tenant for HUD paying the payment standard, unless it's something brand new or exceptional. So,
and if it's one person in the family, we're not going to get them a 5-bedroom house. But it all depends on the family size. Now, if they have 5 kids and there's 2 adults, yeah, we can get them a 5 or 6-bedroom unit if we can find one. Those are difficult. But it's all depending on family size as far as what we'll get them. We have had veterans. We had this one veteran. He wanted to live in his own home down a country road and have no neighbors and have a 3-bedroom and it was just him. It's like, no, that's unreasonable. We were able to find him something private. He wanted to be away from people, but they come in demanding things, but it's all based on family size and what their actual needs are, not what their wants are. And it's always veterans' choice. It's ultimately veterans' choice. If we show them a unit, they don't have to take it. So.
And there's no lease. It's all temporary.
Oh no, we have to have a lease. We absolutely have to have a lease. We cannot pay anything without a lease. So
it is like a year's lease, or?
Yeah. We do have some. We do have some on a month-to-month, and we do have some on 6-month. It all depends on the landlord and what they're willing to do. As far as the temporary, well, while this COVID's going on, we don't have time limits. But regular circumstances, we can provide rent for up to a year. But during that year, we're working with them, trying to get them other support so that they're stable. We're not, you know, we're not here to leave them high and dry. We kind of wean them into paying the bills and working a household budget, and you know, we give them support during the time that we're paying their bills.
Is there any options, like if we do some, say, a year lease? Is there any options for doing like prepaid, like you'll pay 4 months up front, or any kind of incentive for us to take a risk on someone that we might be questionable? You know, having a prepaid makes a big difference than just having 1 month, I guess, if that's maybe a deciding factor for a landlord. We
actually have 2 clients right now where when the lease was signed and was being negotiated, we paid the deposit, first month's rent and last month's rent. We're able to do that. But as 4 months, no, we can't do that. But we can do like the first and last would be acceptable.
No, that sounds
It's
very fair
principle.
too. Yep, that sounds very fair.
Well, that's more or less the standard lease. A
Yeah.
year's.
Some people pay.
They are standard leases that we work with. We do have a few veterans that we've housed with a double deposit because they have a history of, they have a bad history with landlords. And in order to get them housed, we paid a double deposit. And they're still housed. They're doing quite well, actually.
Do you all disclose that if they've got a criminal record or past evictions or whatever issues that those might be?
No, those usually pop up. Some landlords do background checks and it'll come through on a background check. We don't have knowledge of that unless the veteran tells us or if a background check is done. That's not a routine thing for us. But there are many landlords that do background checks, and we can pay for that too.
Wow. Do you screen tenants for drugs?
No.
No.
No, we don't screen for drugs. But if the landlord requires it, we can pay for that too.
Oh man, is that something we could do? That would be the greatest thing ever if we could screen people for drugs before we're going to do them.
As long as you do it for all your tenants, Jennifer, you can.
Really?
You got to be consistent. I think you could argue that that's a requirement as long as you do it for everybody.
Right, just like background checks too. You can't do it. You can't pick and choose. It has to be something that's done for everybody. So there's no discrimination allegations for anything.
Yeah, I do.
You have to be careful.
I do the credit and criminal and all that on every tenant and all that. Never did I think that we would legally be able to drug test people before renting to them. I'm going to check into that. If that's a possibility, I absolutely am going to drug test every applicant. I mean, would that not be the greatest thing?
Well,
To not have anybody?
One thing with the SSVF and with landlords, if we're going to reimburse you for something like that, then we'll reimburse you upon signing of a lease. We can't pay any money without a lease.
Okay, so if we, like normally all of us charge, $20 or $25 for a criminal background check up front with the application. And if say we decided to do drug testing, that would be charged up for an application. And if they didn't pass those, we're not signing a lease with them. So those then we would just be out that money.
Yeah. We would reimburse for things like that once the lease is signed. But no money can change hands unless there's a lease in place.
Okay.
That's a waste.
Well, it might be something. Can we require the veteran to pay that up front themselves? Because we do that with all other tenants.
But if you do it with other tenants, then yes.
Hey, Irma, I couldn't see you.
Wonder why.
Why can't I see you?
I'm not sure, Pat. How do you know I'm here then if you can't see me?
Because your name came up.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm here. That's all I know to tell you. I'm
It's
not.
the little bubble head thing.
What I do with it?
You doing okay?
Yeah, doing fine.
Me too. I'm bored.
I'm not bored. I'm tired.
Well, that too.
Hey, I'm looking for some type of house to rent for 2 or 3 months. I know they don't want to hear this, Pat. We'll talk later.
I was just looking over this summary, and one other thing that landlords really like working with us is if you do have a problem tenant, you can always call the case manager to address any problems that you may be having, and we can step in and possibly mediate whatever the issue is. So you're not just working with the tenant, you have us as for support too.
So I know you mentioned some other programs. Is there any grants or anything with this COVID or something that maybe landlords should be exploring that we can offer to take advantage of now to specific around veterans that you can think of that's either, whether we rent out a duplex exclusively to veterans? Is there any kind of tax incentives or programs you're aware of that might be useful for us to explore as real estate investors?
Not that I'm aware of. The only one as far as investing would be the CSBG, which is the block grants for development, or the West Virginia Development Fund.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have tax incentives for developers. If they're developing low-income housing, they get tax credits, and that's through the West Virginia Development Office, Housing Development Office. But that's not veteran specific. That's for anybody.
Anybody. Is there any more money now with the situation going on for that than normal, or is it pretty standard what's available?
For the development group, I don't know. I don't have that information.
Okay.
I know we have a lot of money. we have way too much money. I hate to put it that way, because I'm afraid they're not going to give us as much in the following years. But with the COVID, we received a half a year's. Oh, for instance, our normal year grant is 2.3 million, and we got 1.1 million additional dollars with the COVID for prevention, because we're expecting, actually it's hitting us now where people are behind on rent, and we're putting out prevention dollars, paying arrearages for rent and utilities.
Go ahead, Jennifer. I'm sorry.
That may be something we need to start asking our tenants if they're behind is, hey, are you a veteran?
Yes. And if they are, send them our way, and we can step in and start working with them and pay arrearages and help them out, help you out by getting you your money. I mean, you've got your mortgages to pay too, so.
And I'll tell you, even if they're not a veteran, I've had, and I was going to invite this lady to talk maybe at the next meeting. I've had some luck too at the Coveting House on just getting people that were in arrearage caught up on a month, that I don't have to evict so much. I just have to be in the, they have to be in jeopardy, kind of similar to what Leah's saying. I don't have to necessarily go through the court system, but I've had some luck in helping 3 or 4 people, which was nice because a lot of people, that 1 month makes a big difference in some people. So.
And you mentioned Covenant House. They work with the Kanawha County Coalition to end homelessness. The other COCs, and I've shared this information with Jennifer, the Continuum of Cares, there's 4 of them in West Virginia, and they all have prevention dollars for whoever may need it, not just veterans. SSVF is veteran specific, but there is prevention dollars within those Continuum of Cares, and I provided those contact information for those with the counties listed that they serve.
So if we go to, say, Covenant House and they tell us we're out of money, they don't necessarily share information with the other groups. We need to go to those individual groups if we're trying to get a tenant help. So what's your, okay.
I'm going to put all the documents that she talked about, she's provided, I'm going to put all of those onto the website, and then I will email out to all of you, to everybody, all the members, the link to that page. It'll be on the resources page of the website. It would be great though if we had a list on there of all of the agencies that help. I know Heart and Hand will help, but they only give a tiny bit of like $50 or something, which doesn't go far if somebody's behind a month of rent. I know Heart and Hand will help. There's the Covenant House, this veterans program. We do need to get a full list together.
Yeah, Salvation Army does.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is
quite a list existing out there.
Is what?
Is there already a list out there that exists for that?
West Virginia 211.
Okay, I'll check that.
And United Way of Kanawha County, I believe, maintains that list.
Okay.
At least that's who we sent our information to.
Okay. All right, anybody else have questions related to the veterans?
Leah, are you the contact for Kanawha County?
I am the contact for the state.
Okay.
I oversee the program within the Community Action Network that covers all 55 counties. I'm the SSVF program manager for West Virginia Community Action Partnerships.
Who is the contact for Kanawha County?
For Kanawha County, that would be Coalfield Community Action. And my SSVF lead worker there is Melanie Fugett, F-U-G-E-T-T.
Can you ask that? Is this I would possibly get a little county peon? No, we get the big dogs.
I think I've worked with Coalfield before, and I still have a tenant through them. But I think their program ran out, but they had enough time limit to get on their own and get established. So it's been a really good relationship.
They do the weatherization for Kanawha County too.
Okay, I'm very interested in that.
Yeah.
Because I'm renovating a house right now, and I'd like to gear it toward veterans. That raises another question. Do you do multi-tenants in one house? Say, for example, I have a 5-bedroom house and 5 bathrooms, and it's on 3 levels.
Yes, we do. We label that as shared housing. And it's actually very popular up in the Eastern Panhandle. We have quite a few people in shared housing, and the way that works is each tenant would have their own lease. Say you get the rent is $500 and you've got 2 people sharing, it would be $250 and $250, and it would be spelled out who's responsible for what percentages as far as like utilities and things like that. So although it's shared housing, they each would have their own lease, and that's becoming more and more popular.
I think so too.
How do you base where's a good parameter? Because I could tell you off the top of my head what a 2-bedroom would for a 3-bedroom and a HUD standard. Where do you get the guidelines for the shared housing like that? Is there a good guide, or is there a document that kind of gives you an idea?
We get we use all the HUD charts.
Okay. It's almost like a 1-bedroom for each person in a way. Some percentage of it, I assume.
Yeah.
You know. Okay.
For the most part, that's the way it works. Yeah.
Okay.
Do they share bathrooms?
It depends on the unit and what the structure is of the unit itself. For the shared housing, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was first relocating to Charleston. I wouldn't say I was homeless, but I was kind of homeless. My house, I moved here from Beckley, so I shared bathrooms with like 2 or 3 other people, 2 men and 1 woman who used a slop jar in her bedroom and never used the bathroom.
Ooh.
I think they finally had to evict her, but I didn't think it was very, I didn't like it.
And it comes back to veteran's choice. The veteran has to agree to whatever the arrangements are. So,
Yeah.
and each unit's different. But if the veteran's willing to accept those conditions, then we can do it for them.
Well, I just temporarily did it until I found a better situation. But it was better than driving 56 miles both ways each day.
Wow, yeah, that's a long way.
Well, Leah, is there anything else that you think is that would be helpful? I think we could. I don't know if there was anything else. I know we could talk a little bit, and you're welcome to stay on. But I know Jennifer was wanting to talk, maybe kind of give an update on the COVID and the evictions as well, unless there's any other questions.
No, she's going to share the other information so that you'll have it handy and you can share with your tenants or other landlords that you know that might be interested in working with us. But is there any other questions? And I'll sign off. No.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to let you know about our program, and I would look forward to working with you. And if you have any questions that you may think of after I leave this setting, feel free to email me or call me. And if I don't know the answer, I can find the answer for you.
Great.
Okay. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leah.
Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too.
Yeah, and I will have her contact information up on the website tomorrow when I get all her documents out.
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you for sharing with us.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
All right. Kathy Wood wanted us to talk about some late fees and were there any formal policies and what utilities were doing and just kind of what other landlords were doing with late fees. I know a lot of landlords did do away with late fees for the past couple months. I know ones that I've talked to have brought the late fees back. As far as I'm aware, there are no formal policies or there's no restrictions on us charging late fees other than HUD tenants. We still have that restriction, I believe, through like the end of this month on HUD tenants, but other tenants, I'm charging late fees, I'm filing evictions, you know, we're doing all of that now. Are you guys?
Same as here. Same with me as well, Jennifer.
Yeah, I've already been there the last 2 weeks. I'll be there again next week.
Are you all having more evictions this month than last?
Yes.
Me too. I think there was a little lag there where people had some either money in savings or they had worked and they just hadn't got paid yet. You know, where usually there's a 2-week lag and people getting paid. So I was getting paid in the early months and now I'm having more evictions this month than before. So I have a feeling it's going to get worse.
Yeah, and I think I was going to mention, Jennifer, I think I've done okay, but I've tried to work with people or seek out funds from other groups to help pay. But I'll get to the point where I'd say next month I'll be wiping my hands of people that aren't trying, you know, because you think they're trying and then you realize another month they're not. So I suspect that we'll see a ripple effect down the next couple months as a result of this. At least I will.
I've told my property manager, file those evictions on the 10th of every month because we don't know when that court could shut down again. So I need this stuff filed and taken care of as soon as humanly possible. She did not file last month on a couple of people and I did not realize that. And then I come this month and they haven't paid last month or this month and I'm saying, whoa, hey, why did you file eviction last month? But because of COVID, she didn't file any last month. So she has now filed a few for me. So hopefully those will all go okay, but we'll see. Are the rest of you guys, are you back to charging late fees?
I am. Unless if they'll ask, if they request it not, they have a good reason. I'm not being too harsh on them. So
Yeah, that's with me. There are certain people that you just have a history with, and we're giving them a couple months to straighten their act out. And then, because I've got a new pit bull.
Alson's isn't on here today, but he had one last month that had a pit bull.
we literally had a pit bull.
Yeah. And other than the HUD tenants, there is nothing saying that we can't charge the late fees or that we can't evict and all that. So I would say if you've got people that are still behind, go ahead and get those evictions in. Because like I said, this COVID thing's going to jump up on us in a hurry here in West Virginia. And I would not be surprised if the court shut down again. If multiple magistrates come down with COVID or something, they're gonna shut it down again.
Or virtualize it. It sounds like that's an option where they're allowing people to call in. I hope that they go to that option instead of shutting down, because I think that was the worst thing they could have done was shut it down and add the backlog. I really think we should promote the idea of, before shutting down, to do the remote telephone calls, and that seems like Skypes or whatever they were willing to do initially. I think those are excellent alternatives.
Yeah, I think my property manager has been physically going. She hasn't been on the remote. She's been going, but it's if you're in an at-risk group, then don't go. do it on Skype or by phone, definitely. Do you guys know, Kathy had asked about utilities. Are the utilities back to charging late fees? I'm not sure of that.
I have a couple places that I pay utilities, or did, because of I had furnished, and I noticed I received notices about, especially like the city of Dunbar, where they would no longer hold. I guess that some tenants were not paying the utilities, and I think they were just sending out notice that they will no longer not disconnect them as a result of it. So I don't know about the late charges, but it appears that that period of time that they have to not pay it and not get kicked off has expired. So.
Well, I think they figured out what we already knew was coming. There's going to be that handful that's got the money to pay it, and they're just not going to pay it because they're not going to get cut off. And there's always that small group of people that'll take advantage of every situation. And, we know that as landlords, because it usually gets taken out on us. But the cities and utilities, they're going to get bit just like we get bit.
And I don't know if you guys noticed, if the governor's mask requirement, that the way I understood it, if you have a multi-unit with a shared area that somebody can't 6 foot distance, technically they're supposed to wear a mask per that. The way I understood the governor's mandate there. I mean, I don't think it's enforceable, but we did post some notes on some common areas that fall under that criteria.
I thought that was just in public buildings.
I've got some apartments where I've got, you enter through 2 doors, and then there's multi-level apartments that, rather than, I'm always afraid of liability. So I just always rather sway on the side of caution, I guess, more than anything.
Have you put notices up in the halls, or?
I did. I put them on the doors.
Okay.
Obviously if it's a single family house or even a duplex, but this had 12 different apartments. So entering through a common area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure technically if that falls in, but I would do it too. I would do the exact same thing. I think it's a smart thing to do. I think it helps with liability issues if there's an outbreak in your building or something and you've done everything you could do. I would definitely go that route. I don't have any multi-families, but if I did, I would do the same thing.
I also wanted to comment that, in terms of, I had some workers and I lost a bunch of units in a short period, but, with the stimulus and all that, I've been able to repopulate pretty quickly. So it feels very normal out there right now in terms of people moving and, typical move out on their lease. You typically find somebody else in a short period of time. So I hope everybody else is experiencing the same thing. And I was kind of more curious to see if that's what everybody else's feeling is in terms of vacancies and how quickly you're filling them. It seemed pretty normal at this point.
I've had the same thing. We had one move out, one move in a couple days later. So yeah, everything's getting filled up immediately for me right now too. How about the rest of you?
I only have 1 unit in Backland. I've had the same person in there for 3 years, so I'm lucky.
Oh yeah.
course, sometimes she doesn't, she's behind on her rent, but eventually.
I'm getting ready to advertise a 2-unit and a 1-unit, or 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom tomorrow. So if you got more tenants than you need, let me know.
Make sure you're publishing that online, Ken. I get tons and tons of inquiries through the online stuff. So Hot Pads, Zillow, and seemingly good quality tenants are coming through that way too.
And where do you post it? I know.
Like Zillow, Hot Pads, Rent.com, Zumper. There's so many of them now. It's hard to.
I normally put it on Zillow and it populates.
It propagates it. Yeah.
Don't forget Facebook. Facebook Marketplace.
Facebook, yeah, Marketplace. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Are you all having any other COVID-related issues with your rentals?
No.
No. Any other just eviction issues or any other issues in general?
I have, well, you know, I have a townhouse that has common property in Beckley, and recently the water, they individually metered, and when I went to check on my property, my tenant said that the water company had left a huge mess, and I talked to the groundskeeper, and he said, well, that's your responsibility, the front yard. And I said, no, it's common property. So they were going to check on it because they even put a big meter there. See, before it wasn't individually metered, so the homeowners association paid all the water bills, which got to be astronomical because everybody had leaky commodes and everything. So, but I talked to the president and he said, well, that they would just put grass in there. My tenant had wanted to put rocks, or before it was all mulch, so she pulled all the mulch out of there because before they used to supply mulch. So I wasn't sure about my rights as far as a property owner. I don't think it's up to me to maintain the common grounds. Have Al
Has stepped out. I am not, because I don't have any townhouses or any kind of shared properties. I am not educated on that. How about the rest of you? Are you all knowledgeable there? I am not knowledgeable on that one.
Well, I think you'd have to look at your covenants, see what your homeowners association rules.
Yeah, we own side walls and everything else is the homeowners.
Yeah, you probably have a long homeowners association kind of, I don't know what to call it. Like, I want to call it rules, but just your kind of contract with them. So I would look at
covenants. Yeah, covenants.
Covenants, yeah. I would look at that and see what it says. I would say, yeah, that's probably very specific. There's probably not a general rule for that. You probably have to go look at your particular covenant.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any other issues you guys are having before we end the call, or anything else, Jennifer, you wanted to talk about?
I don't have anything else. Just if anybody else is having any other issues, bring them up. We're here to talk about anything going on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering about late fees, what other people are doing about late fees. The banks, of course, with forbearance, were giving up late fees during that time. And we did not charge our tenants late fees in the last couple of months, but nothing lasts forever. So I'd like to know what the rest of you are doing about late fees.
You jump on here late because we just talked about that a few minutes ago.
Sorry, we were out. This is our other company, Quantum Party Rentals. We're doing a.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you weren't on here then when we discussed all that. Yeah, there's not a formal policy out there. There's no restrictions other than if you have a HUD tenant.
Right.
But if it's a non-HUD tenant, that you can charge your regular late fees. You file evictions. We're back to normal with all that.
Okay.
Kathy, I was just mentioning, I'm back to charging them, but I'm very liberal about it if they give me the story or it's reasonable.
Right.
I'm not pushy about it.
Right. I try to be understanding too, but I just some people. We have one person on a land contract, and I feel like that's a little separate, and it's a pricey thing because if he doesn't pay on time, he pays a one-time. For the first day, it's $50, and it's $5 for every day after that. And for a land contract, I don't know whether to treat this differently from my regular renters or not. I'm trying to sort that one out.
Probably follow the same pattern that the banks are doing. If they've started charging, I would start charging. If they don't, then I wouldn't.
Okay, have any of you noticed on your bank statements whether the banks are charging late fees?
I pay mine, so I don't know.
Oh, you don't get any late fees. You're always on time.
I don't want to find out.
Okay.
I protect my credit so much that I don't have any payment through this either, because the minute a landlord has the first late payment, goodbye financing on any deals you get. So I wasn't about to let one thing get one day late.
Well, at this point, most of our payments are on ACH, so it's sort of out of our hands, which is probably okay.
Hey, that raises a question. I just got we made a payment to Zella, Z-E-L-L-E.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody's used it, but it's a good. Now, Facebook Messenger is a good source for me. I've got a couple of tenants that are paying to Facebook Messenger. It's instantaneous. There's no fee. What's your feeling on how to get paid? I mean, there's all kinds of cash apps.
Cash. I mean, there's literally an app called a Cash App. I've got tenants that pay with that. I've had tenants that pay with Zelle. I've had tenants pay with PayPal as well. For me, I prefer them to use my system because it automatically creates a ledger. And I try to use these like Zelle and Cash App as kind of worst case, they're trying to catch up with rent or, it's the only means that they have, just because then I have to go manually create an entry because I can take, bank and credit card and all that through their portal or their website, but the Zelle and stuff, it's not integrated. But I use it. In cases, and I have no problems with it. It just creates a little bit extra headache for me to manually enter something somewhere else just to track it that they paid.
A lot of people get paid on these cards. Are they able to pay through your computer system with their card?
Yep. Treats it just like a debit card. Absolutely.
They just have to have internet access to do that, right?
Yeah. Go to the library or absolutely. Yep.
You can also do it on your phone.
Phone. Yep. Phone.
Yeah.
And mine, you can even go to Walmart and pay cash too.
Do you, on your bookkeeping system, is there an extra charge or fee that you have to pay?
Well, it's through I use, it's called Propertyware, and they charge a convenience fee to the user. So it's like if you go pay like cash at Walmart, it's like a $3.99 service charge. If you pay like a debit card, they have like a set fee. It's somewhere $12 to $15. If I run it for them and it's debit, it costs me like 2%, 2.2%. But I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I'll eat that. Sometimes I charge them the convenience fee. Sometimes I don't if I run it, because a lot of times if they send the check to the post office, I'm paying somebody to go get it. I'm paying somebody to go deposit it. So by the time I factor that 2% just seems nominal to me when I get it, and it's pretty clean, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sometimes, don't trip over a dollar to get to a dime.
Yeah. Or trip over a dime to get a dollar. Yeah.
Yeah, my property management software, I use Buildium, and I think it charges me, I pay the fee. If they pay using their bank account, it charges me like $1, and I eat that cost. But if they pay with a credit card or a debit card, they are charged. It's like 2.9% or something. It's pricey, and I have tenants to do it. I don't understand why. I have tenants to do that.
I do too.
And they don't mind paying it. One thing I'll mention, and this may apply to everybody or not, your Buildium software, Jennifer, since that got bought by Propertyware, there's a new thing that they're doing, and the guy was telling me actually today, you can offer renter's insurance to your tenants, and it's like $13 a month, and it covers the typical perils. And it also includes like bed bugs, burglary, and water overflow, and a couple other ones. And they charge $13, and I can turn around and sell it to my tenants for $15, or $12, and I can sell it for $15. So I can mark it up a little bit. But it's a little bit off the topic. But since you mentioned if other people use software like Buildium or Propertyware, if you don't, and you built up 10, 15, 20 properties, it's definitely worth your time looking at stuff like that, because it simplifies a lot of the management when it comes to, you can start offering features like online bill pay and things like that. You pay a service fee, you pay for for the use of the software, but I have found that it's paid for itself with all the features that I get, background checks, portals, web portals, websites that I can offer, work orders, definitely something for you guys as you start to grow to really look at. I did a lot of stuff through spreadsheets when I first started, and I love the software that's out there now.
Are you saying that if one of our tenants gets bed bugs, we can hire a professional, and then
if they're paying that fee, which is $13 a unit, they cover that.
Wow.
Is that
because that's one of the not perils, but it's one of the things they cover. But it's covered through, like, I get it through Propertyware. Like Jennifer, her stuff that she's using or is using is Buildium. They're owned by the same company. They were telling me that they can allow their Buildium customers to also supply it to their renters.
What about if a dog bites somebody?
They cover pet liability too. That was another one that I was very interested in, because I get more and more requests for pets and breeds. And one of the standard I've always said is if you have renter's insurance, then I tend to be more swayed with a pet, and it covers pet damage as well.
Wow.
It's called asset protection, Jennifer, for Buildium.
All right, I'm gonna look that up for sure, because it's a requirement that my tenants have renter's insurance, but I highly doubt bed bugs and dog bites are covered under their policy. So
I'll forward you. I just got some documentation. I'll forward it to you. It's very neat. And anybody else that's interested in it, that's looking at that, I'll be happy to share as well.
Jennifer, I just would like to say we use Buildium, and I probably don't use all of the features. I'm just lucky to understand how to generate statements.
So you, based on the call I had today, you could offer that to your tenants, like for, let's say it cost you $13, and say you charge them $15 an admin fee. I think it's $15 or I think it's $12, and you could make $3 a unit on it. Plus you get some extra protection as well. I'll forward both of this to you and Jennifer,
okay,
especially if you guys have Buildium.
Okay, thank you.
John, is that
Yes, ma'am. Per unit. that's per unit. It's like if you've got maybe 5 or 10 units and you start using software, it's an actual property management software.
I know, but is it per month?
Yes, per month, per unit.
Okay.
Do you put it in their lease, John?
They have an addendum that if they want to sign up for it, that they sign that allows you to offer it to them. They provide that, the addendum that you add for the lease.
Okay, that's all very helpful. Maybe in 10 years I'll be caught up.
But if you ever have Buildium questions, call me. I love Buildium. And for those of you that have a handful of properties, Buildium is like a mini Propertyware, I guess. Like Propertyware has a really high monthly charge, but it's great for people that have a whole bunch of properties. But you know, I started out when I first started using them with maybe 10 properties, and it was costing me like $50 a month or something. And so that was very doable. It costs me more now that I have a lot more properties, but it's still very doable. And you just grow with it. You know? Eventually, when you get 500 or something, you might want to go with Propertyware. You might want to go with some of those higher dollar management systems. But for those of us that have, you know, like I'm sitting at somewhere in the mid 40s, Buildium still makes sense for me rather than paying the amount of money that Propertyware charges.
If she ever did a study to figure out where the break-even point was.
Well, you ask her. Eric has a question here, and I'm going to get him to come over here and ask the question.
Okay.
Jennifer, do you ever price it out to figure out how many properties you have before it's time to move to another program?
No, because Buildium is a tiered charging system. So if you have 50 properties, you know, it's X number of dollars. And then when you have, you know, 70 properties at X number of dollars. So it kind of incrementally increases in price as you get more properties. So as comfortable as I am with Buildium, I think I could have 1,000 properties. I'd still use Buildium because I know it now. And it would become another learning curve to turn around and go to Propertyware or go to one of these other softwares.
And Propertyware has a base fee. I think it's like $150 a month, something like that. So you have to say, what is it worth per unit? You know, is it worth $1 a unit? Is it worth $2 a unit or $2.50 to start to then move into that direction? But it's a whole solution, from your advertisement to your work orders to having a portal, you know, for your tenants. You know, so it's a solution. I mean, it has to be worth, and you have to use it to make it. There's stuff in Propertyware I don't use that I should be using. And it's like you have to kind of build yourself or make yourself start to leverage some of that. Probably like Buildium. You know, I'm sure there's, like Kathy was saying, there's a lot of stuff she doesn't use that Jennifer that you use. So, but the software, if you'll get yourself accustomed to using it, I find it the most cost-effective use of your time, because you can train somebody to do what you do if you get it down right. And then other people, you could hire somebody to help you.
Does it integrate with QuickBooks?
Propertyware does. It's more integrated at the desktop version. I use QuickBooks Online, and so I use QuickBooks for my expenses, and I use Propertyware for my income. I don't have them integrated the way I should, but I find it very clunky to try to put my expenses in Propertyware.
Okay.
I'm the opposite with Buildium. Buildium is my only accounting software, so I'm not exporting it into. I don't know if it integrates with QuickBooks, if you don't need QuickBooks. It handles your entire accounting process.
And that's what Propertyware tries to get you to do as well. I've just never had. I've always used QuickBooks, and I've always liked it and how I could classify everything and still treat it. But maybe if I'd have started out using Buildium, I might still be with Buildium. It sounds like it's a great software solution. So
One
I
of the
just like
about Buildium is that you may now download from the internet, from your bank account, your monthly statement, and it will put it into Buildium, and that way all you have to do is come back and
categorize them.
Yeah.
Nice. That's nice. I mean, that's what I do in QuickBooks. That's why I like QuickBooks so well, because it makes it such an easy interface for me to import from a credit cards and bank accounts, and then class them which property it went to, which company it went to, and kind of do that on an every other day, every week kind of thing. I don't have that option in PropertyWare, or I don't use that option in PropertyWare.
Now, PropertyWare sounds too expensive. Buildium sounds practical.
I asked the guy the question today because Jennifer had spoken so highly of Buildium, and I asked him, I said, in our landlord association, we have a lot of users that have 1 or 5 or 10, and that sounds like a great solution. I said, can you get back and see if there's ever maybe some kind of discount or version we can offer for if you're part of the landlord association? So he is supposed to follow up with me on that. So I did ask that question today because maybe it'd be great if we get some kind of association discount, if that's something that is an option for people.
That would be awesome. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Oh, you're the one I need to talk to, Ken. You know that I'm involved with Tiscawa Senior Center, and they're selling that to the Sad Brothers.
They are?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's already, but he has an option on it, conditional to. This is all high finance for me. I just go to the board. I try to get involved with the board meetings because I'm involved with the senior center.
Right.
So they put $500 down for an option to buy the whole Tiscawa property for $475,000.
That's a deal.
Well,
what's going to happen to the senior citizens, though?
Okay. They decided they're leasing a property, old water building property down on Pennsylvania Avenue 1710.
Oh.
And the board decided they're renovating it because they have to build a kitchen, and they're having to spend $425,000 to renovate it for our purposes.
Well,
does that make sense to you? That's somebody else's property. They're just.
And they probably already own the Tiscawa building, and it's probably nearly paid for. It's been in place for 20 years.
Yeah.
So somebody's got an ulterior motive.
That's what I think. They want out of the Tiscawa building because it's so old. It was built in 1915. But there's so much property there.
Well, yeah. That doesn't make sense to me. There's something going on behind the scenes there. I don't think they're totally honest with the public.
That's what and they're wanting to sell the Kanawha Valley Senior Center, which is down on the boulevard. Do you know where that one is?
Yeah.
They've got it listed, which it was originally was an old house, and they've converted it. But I think it's listed as commercial real estate for $800,000 or something. But they're moving everything into that new building.
I don't know. It sounds like that's a community issue.
Who owns the new building?
The new
building that is proposed to move into on Pennsylvania. Who owns that? You might not know.
I do. It's in my notes someplace. But they're just leasing it. And they're going to have to build a commercial grade kitchen. They're going to have to, now it's just all big, see, they're moving the elder care, the daycare, elder citizens, moving them in there. Irma, do you know about this? Did we lose Irma? Because she goes down there and eats lunch with.
She is muted. I don't. Can
Yeah,
John?
there. Did I unmute it?
There you go. Yep, you're back on.
I do not know. That's the first I heard of it.
Well, they're supposed to have open. Okay, here's the thing. They're supposed to have open board meetings, but if you want to speak, you have to talk. You have to submit what you're going to say 5 business days in advance.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
That's,
Meeting, and then when they have the open meeting, they say there's the minutes. If you miss one of the meetings, they say the minutes have been emailed to the board members, and they forego the reading of the minutes. If you want a copy of the minutes, you have to go down to the talk to the human resource person down at the main KVSS building on the boulevard, and she will let you read the minute.
You mean Paulette?
Yeah, Paulette.
will she give you a copy?
No, she won't give me a copy. I called and I said, you know, why should I expose myself to coming down to your office when I don't even want to go to the grocery store?
That's a good question.
And I got a call from one person that said that there's a whole group of bunch of food that people are supposed to be given out, and she got to run around and said that she couldn't take. You had to go down to the office to fill out a paper to get permission to take the shelf food that, you know, in case you can't get out to the store, shelf stable food.
Well, my understanding, if you go and eat at Tiscawall, you cannot get that food.
That's what they told me, but apparently there's a new batch of food because the whole side of the wall is full of that boxes of food now. Because I go in there and get my grab-and-go lunch because I'm old and I'm afraid to go out to the store.
Well,
What does that lunch cost you?
It's donation based. All you have to be is old.
You don't look old.
I,
You don't look old.
I'm a great. I got 3 grandchildren.
Sorry, you don't qualify.
But you guys that understand the high financing, I don't understand how they can put all that money in a leased property.
ask Bob Roswell. That's who you need to talk to, Pat.
He said for Kanawha County, it's out. He's in charge of the whole state. For Kanawha County, Paulette Justice and the board of directors. And she's got her board of directors in her pocket.
Well, she had them evidently before she got the position.
Maybe that's how she got it.
I didn't vote for her. I've been nice to her. But whatever.
Hey, John, are you still on here?
I am. I need to hop off. I apologize, guys. I've got to go finish cutting my mom's grass before it gets too dark.
Can you talk about one thing real quick before you get off here?
Sure.
The board meeting.
Oh, yeah, thanks for reminding. So we had set up we're going to try to do this and do it quarterly, even if we have to do it. And I think the Zoom meetings are a great medium for this, even if we can't meet in person. I think that's always been the hesitation. So we're going to set up a quarterly board meeting via Zoom. If we could meet in person, great. If not, we're still going to do the Zoom. So I would encourage anybody that wants to attend, please attend. And hopefully we can start making some decisions moving forward with the group that continue to make it better. I mean, I think our group's grown quite a bit actually from membership, from what people are paying, and I think that's great. And hopefully we can continue to grow it and add some benefit for all of us.
When is the board meeting?
I will forward anybody, or forward it to Jennifer, if you want to forward the invitation to the group, that'd be great. And you guys are all welcome to attend.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll do that. Is it tomorrow at noon? Is that right?
It is tomorrow at noon. Let me just make sure I tried to put something that was convenient.
So yeah, if you guys can make it, but this is for the state association board meeting.
Oh.
And we really, really need some input on, we want to, combine the local and the Charleston and the state into one, and then we just function as the whole state organization. And then when we do these Zoom meetings, we've got statewide people, because this stuff we're talking about, it applies statewide. We can have some separate breakout meetings just for Kanawha County, just for Cabell County, just for Wood County, but most of these meetings apply to anybody in the entire state. So it doesn't make that we're operating these local chapters and they're all folding because nobody wants to help do anything. So these local chapters are folding. So we want to just kind of fold them all into one, and we just become one state organization. So that's our big thing that we need to talk about tomorrow. If you guys can possibly make it, please do.
Where is the meeting?
It's on
Zoom.
Oh, it's Zoom. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Zoom. We're not getting anybody together right now, and it'll probably be quite some time before we physically get back together, because we've got a lot of older members, and I don't want to risk you all. And I'm getting older myself, and man, Ken, he's over the hill.
Well, he doesn't look it.
John, if you need to jump off here, you can. I know you got to.
Thank you guys. Appreciate everything. You guys, good luck. And if anybody needs anything from me, don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay. When we get off the call here, I'll go ahead and send that Zoom meeting invitation out, and I'll just send it same way I did this one, just to everybody's emails, and then I'll also put it on our Facebook group. And then
Bye. I gotta leave.
Jump on.
Jennifer,
Yep.
I hope sometime you don't mind if I contact you about some aspects of Buildium that I'm not using, and I want to find out if you are and pick your brain a little bit.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any last parting words from anyone?
Nice to see everybody.
If you could send a link to the Buildium.
Say it again, Ken.
Send a link to the Buildium website.
Yeah.
www.buildium.com.
Okay.
You can Google that. You can Google that, Ken.
I can do
It's
that.
funny that I couldn't hear you and I leaned in, like you were in front of me and I was leaning to get.
Everybody be safe and be careful.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. I'll be at lunch tomorrow at Tiscawa.
Okay.
Uh-huh.